All our lives we're taught to do in order to get, in order to be better, in order to improve ourselves, in order to achieve, whether that be academic achievement or financial achievement or marital achievement or family achievement. We're always taught as we grow up to direct our awareness toward a achieving future, to become good little human doings rather than beings. And this can become a trap where there is always the projection to the next thing to do, the next place to be, the next achievement, rather than being fully present now as this. And unfortunately, this training that begins at a very, very almost at birth, we're always directed to be a good little boy and a good little girl, and good little boys do this and good little girls do that. And it's always directing us away from what is, away from the present moment, away from this being enough. And we spent the last few days with a beautiful little 3-month-old. And I don't know if any of you saw the picture of the eyes that I put on Instagram, just those beautiful, innocent eyes looking out in wonder and feeling at that point completely enough, this little baby so content, luckily absolutely loved and safe, enough to just be and to look out. The unconditioned mind still. But slowly, as we grow, the conditionings come in. And some of those, of course, are necessary for us to function in the world. And many are well-meaning and not at all helpful for us to function and live coherent and intelligent and loving lives. Because often the underlying story with a lot of what we're told is we're not good enough, that we have to be better to achieve more, to have more, to become a better person. When we actually come into the world as pure, open, present innocence, that is absolutely enough. It's very interesting how our society has placed so much importance on achieving something out there rather than seeking that within, and then once that is established, moving with the flow of life, or allowing the flow of life to move us in the perfect direction that is for our personality type, perhaps our innate abilities. It's like, that old story of the doctor wanting his son to be a doctor. And perhaps that son wants to be a musician. Or a musician wanting their child to be a musician, and perhaps that child, she may want to be a scientist. So seeking within and following that flow is something, unfortunately, that we've had to learn later in life, to learn to follow that inner tuition or intuition, to follow that inner guidance and to trust in that, and know that we are always enough. So I'll just start with that little sharing tonight and open now to you, you beautiful me's, and listen to what you have to tell me, that we have to share with each other. Go ahead, Colette.
It's just, I'm just smiling at your, this lovely, your words, Soraya, and thinking to myself, I'm 72. Maybe I'm ready now to have a baby, be a mother, and start this whole process. And it's only now that all this, the wisdom that you're talking about, and the truth of our experience that bears it all out, to be present in that way. You know, I'm just thinking about that. But then we have grandchildren, so that's beautiful, and that's another gift. But it's almost like it has taken me this length of time to be present in this way now. Yeah.
And you know, I think so many people could say that, Colette. It's so very, if only we knew, you know, then what.
Yeah.
I'm just going
It's
to.
like a readiness to start now, but a little bit. Well, at one level, it's a little bit too late, but it's awareness, isn't it? Yeah.
And then, of course, to remember that there's only now.
Yeah.
Only now. You know, Terry's song, you know, only now. And that's so precious to remember that.
Yeah.
And if we can now embody this, and as you've said, share with our grandchildren,
Yeah.
It may have taken us, you know, 72 years to get to this understanding and knowing. But how many lifetimes has this soul been through to come here now? How precious is this? And you know, we've talked about that on Satsang before, of the thousands of people that could be here, you know, and discussing these very important and high subjects, and sharing this oneness of being and understanding. How many people show up? So for me, I feel such gratitude that if we can reach this in this lifetime, what a gift. And the more people and apparently that wake up, then that is just going to be shared. And as we spoke about last week, it's not like we have to do anything. We're just the being of it in the presence of others is enough. So the being of it with your grandchildren and with your grown children and with everybody here, it's enough. You know, it's just, you know, just fills my heart with gratitude to have, when I think of the journey, you know, and that's why I call my book, you know, From Grief to Gratitude, but that huge, you know, seeming journey in between to land right here, right now, where I always was, but with deep peace and deep understanding, is just a miracle, really. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, I was just really what Colette was talking about was really resonating about the, you know, feeling ready now to be a parent, and I was also reflecting on various my siblings that are now grandparents, and how that relationship is very different, and you know, the relationship between grandparent and child, without, you know, when you take away all the need to put food on the table, to put a roof over the head and things like that, there's something really rich and special about that relationship. So I kind of feel like you get two bites at the cherry. You get, you know, to your own children, which you, and hopefully they have grandparents and other people that can bring in the wisdom, and then you get grandchildren to, you know, to be able to do that. And I the other thing that I was kind of, you know, when you said, Soraya, about the fact that there are, you know, just these few of all the thousands of people that could be here, in this space right now, in this moment. And I was just I've been struck over the last couple of weeks by the number of people that are doing this work suddenly, in different ways, in different forums. And I'm thinking, wow, this is really exciting. Even, you know, even some of the really mainstream, you know, in the work that I'm doing, I'm looking at these different community development models and things like that. And they are, a lot of them, acknowledging this is actually where it all starts, and this is where it needs to be. The work needs to actually be. And that's amazing to hear, actually, I feel.
Absolutely, yeah. And if, you know, going on your first point, if we look back, you know, into the Indigenous communities and the way village life was, you know, they always used to say it takes a village to raise a child, and the grandparents were always there. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but, you know, grandparents in my uh, experience were not always that wise, but they definitely had life experience, you know, and they could offer that time and space to be present for a child if they chose to. But I think with so many more, particularly in our age group, who have done the work, there are a lot of awake people out there. They might not be here, but you know, we are everywhere, as you've just said, Sarah. And there are a lot of children now with wise elders who are connecting and holding that space for the young ones. And it's interesting that it seems that the elders, that the awake elders that are around now, born of, you know, the 50s, 60s and 70s, where there was that great revolution and huge seeking and awakening movement happening in so many different ways, which seems to have come right into this time in the 90s and the 2000s, landing back in the present moment, understanding that awakeness is now. It's very interesting. You know, I know lots and lots of people who came through many different lineages and were seekers for years, but now get it. And these people are grandparents. You know, these people are the wise elders that are holding space globally for the young ones. And at this time, with everything that's happening in our governments and the chaos that's occurring at this time, those young ones need us wise elders. They really do. We have an important role to play, I feel, for the young ones that are emerging now, because they are going to be living in a very, very different paradigm to what we grew up in. So yes, it's fascinating, isn't it, Sarah? There was another point that you made. Yeah, I think yes, that there are so many people doing this work in, it might have a different cover note to it, but it is this work. Absolutely. And that's just precious. And it's also about, I know it sounds funny to say this, but it's about time. Of course, there's no time, but it's about time in no time. Yeah. It's much needed.